you'll never be me. You might be pretty, but this is my secret.
All right, Peanut Potters, here we are. Confirmation that episode 10 was the season finale. I've been guessing and hoping and praying for some kind of like clarity, but we are. So we've already talked about the season finale, and you'll go to your podcast plays right after it drops. But ahead of time, we have invited a guest, a person who knows much more about things than we do, which is not saying much, right? This is the Peanut Pod, our ladies of London. I am Sundi, the pop culture professor, self-proclaimed expert on many things, but like really heavy on the self-proclaimed. Emily's here.
I'm Emilie. I'm the ex-socialite person, so I'm just here, color commentary basically on all of these little socialites in London.
That's right. And we have our guest, Jodi Saunders, and her accent's going to hit your ear a little different than ours, but I will let her introduce herself and tell her a little bit about what her bit is today.
Hi, I'm Jodi Saunders. I'm the editor and publisher of Columbus and the Valley magazine. Originally from England, and my hometown is Warrington, Cheshire. Northwest England, you'll find me right in between Manchester, Liverpool, close to North Wales, Chester, that area. I've lived in Columbus for 29 years now, and it's definitely home from home. So I'm loving it all.
And Columbus, yeah. And Columbus is the town that we live in. We live in Columbus, Georgia. And my daughter has started recently watching Geordie Shore. Do you know that show?
Yeah, it's Newcastle.
Yeah,
right?
It is. It is a version of Jersey Shore. So like whatever like concept you have of Jersey Shore, but make it English, and it's very fun.
Windier, rainier. I'm sure.
It's very fun, and they are as trashy as their American counterparts. So I can't say much about it, but
that makes sense.
We have some questions, so I hope that you do not feel grilled to death, because as two, middle-class American white ladies, some of the things that were happening were like, is this a real thing? Because the Americans that are on the show have either lived there for a really long time or are just so incredible people pleasers that you can't get a sense of like what they really know. So much has been made about the difference between British humor and American humor.
Okay.
Is it so different? Like, is there a way that folks are just fundamentally missing the mark and feelings for way? Because it doesn't feel that different to me, but
right. That's a really great question, because it feels like the question that's always hanging in the hair, because the way I describe it is I feel like the Brits just have a very self-depreciating humor. They just are more than happy to tear themselves down, mock themselves. Whereas I do find that when you start to introduce that into the mix with Americans, they can get a little uptight about that. So maybe it's people I'm hanging around with, but I don't know. Over the years, I think that's what we found. And then, of course, there's that whole thing with great British banter, so.
Because does the self-deprecating like transfer over to like others deprecating? Because that was one where I think he was teasing about her dress or about her like sort of lack of style. And it started, I think, fairly good-natured.
Right.
And then the more she got upset, the more mean he got. And everyone was like, oh, you just don't understand British humor. And she's like, I don't know, man. It's really mean. Can it be received that way?
I think it can be. Yes, I think it can be mean. I do think that it flows into the media. I think the press is very, very mean. But it's not how. I mean, that applies into different reporting styles, though. I mean, so yeah, it can be very mean, and I lose that a little bit here from around American folks for a while, and then I get around my British people, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm back. So
like lose your like sharpness over there with that.
Yeah, and humor is a big deal. Especially in my family. I mean, I love nothing more than when I get memes from my brothers or my nephews, and because I'm like, oh my god, they nailed it. Of course, they nailed it. So Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like British humor always seems very dry and
Mhm.
like maybe a little bit more, sometimes even more like an intelligent, like higher level kind of wit or banter sometimes.
Yes.
You need to
Yeah.
pay attention.
Mhm. Mhm.
And two, you can always sort of like spot the American like defensiveness too, like, oh,
Right.
how dare. And that's kind of like what was made. And once
Mhm.
Mark Francis like kind of honed in on that being her sensitivity, he pressed that bruise the entire time. And if I heard the phrase keep calm and carry on one time, I heard it 150 times. And
Ah,
I guess it's like some sort of
maybe I thought that was worn out by now. I thought that had
I did too, but I thought, well,
so, yeah, I'm surprised about that. So,
I know. I was thinking, like,
They
woman,
were being cheeky about it when they kept
mhm.
saying that, like, if maybe they even felt like, I don't know, I wondered if they felt like they were in on the joke by saying it because, like, Americans, we kinda took that and ran with it there
Mhm.
for a few years, like, "Oh, this is so funny that Brits say this," and then
Yes.
so have you ever had to walk a joke back that you made, especially when you first arrived? Because you've been
Well,
here long enough now, especially in the American South. You've been here long enough now where you're like, okay, I see where this is going. But when you first arrived, did you ever have to be like, oh, just kidding. I'm so sorry. No, no, no. That's not what I meant.
only time, well, just one that springs to mind, and I think it's more of a language issue as well, because, I
Ah,
mean, that is a whole gamut to itself because it is a different language in many ways. So I remember it was Thanksgiving and my mother-in-law was sat in the car and I said to her, "What's the matter? Are you ill?" Of course, ill, ear, it means, it's,
grouchy.
yeah. And she took it that way.
Yes, that's
And I
funny. I can
said, "What?"
imagine.
Well, not
Yeah. Being like, no, I'm not. I mean, I can say if my children are ill when they walk in the door, I'm like, are you
right.
ill
I know.
today?
I know.
But
Yeah,
it's
and then,
funny.
the word is it's a word homely, it's got a different resonate, so that you have to be careful with that one, so
Yes, because that
homely.
means
Yeah,
ugly.
yeah, whereas for us, it's, cozy, comfy, snuggy in my blankie. So,
That's
Oh,
so
for us, that's
funny.
like
yeah,
real di
I just steer away from that one totally, never know where that's gonna land, so, yeah.
Uh,
So that it's a language barrier when it comes to stepping on toes, I think.
well, that's funny. I'm gonna assume that your mother-in-law is a Southern lady.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So, because much of us have we've talked a lot about too, about how these folks are so very, very concerned with their public persona. Like,
Mm,
there was an episode that they were, like, yelling in the park, right? Like, they were shouting and arguing, and one was like, "My mother would die, and so would mine," right? Like, there is a point where she would be like, "You're yelling in public, like, you're dead to me. What are you doing?" So,
right.
there is some similarities. Are there other things that you were seeing, like, overlap in terms of, like, customs or politeness or, like, class or anything like that that kind of you felt like, "Oh, I get this just exactly. I get this."
Right. So who was yelling in the park? Was it the Americans?
No.
Oh, the British.
Well, one of them.
Oh,
There was a real squawker. She was the real squawker. She was at
yeah.
she was at the hub of a lot of the conflicts, and I
Mhm.
think, like, her drama kinda sucked them in, and they kinda lost themselves a little
Yeah,
bit, you know?
yeah. So my perception is really the British are not too worried about what people think. We kind of, I mean, it is what it is, and so I've that is a big thing here. Like I've had to dial it back, because in the South
Okay.
everyone's so polite. It's so polite you might get yourself killed. Like you let the homeless man in.
that is
You know,
the thing,
it's
especially
the
for
thing.
Mhm.
It's the thing. Whereas I feel like the Brits are a little bit more truth tellers, and that doesn't go down well in the South. So
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, you tuck that truth way away. Don't let
yeah,
anybody see it. Like,
I
just
do.
put it right away. We
Yeah,
don't need to talk about that.
yeah.
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 Right. And so yeah, I guess the Brits, I guess, can be more blunt. To the
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
That reads.
Um,
Yeah. Also, I obviously don't want to, like, hold you accountable. I know that there is a huge diaspora of, like, British and all this ideas, but if you could help me understand why one of the castmates being a Marchioness, and she's also the proprietor of Longleat. Do you know Longleat? I don't know what
oh,
Longleat is, but
Longleat, is that It's like
She's the Marchioness of Bath.
stately home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and then she married her husband owns Longleat, and she has the animal preserve and, like, all of the,
Okay.
stuff like that.
Mhm.
But she claims that she's recognized walking down the street.
Oh.
Why?
In just in Bath or just.
I that answers my question right there. Yeah, so it wouldn't be common for her to be
No,
super famous?
no, just no. Well, just from my British point of view, we're not making note of how lords and ladies and who they are, and it's not like a celebrity, you know.
So that's what we wondered, because like Sunday and I talked about it obviously as Americans who are a little bit upset. I mean,
Uh-huh.
Americans, we're a little bit obsessed with royalty because
Yes.
we don't have it here,
Yeah.
So, but like, I only know, I mean, I can recognize on sight, like the king, the queen, the princes, their wives, that kind of, and like a few of the princesses maybe and stuff, like the top tier. But I mean, someone who's a marchioness or
Yeah.
like I don't know.
I think that might just be very localized because I did work with way back when. I did work with the Duke of Westminster, whose actual seat was in Chester. So I guess I would know him, and the people of Chester would know him for sure. So he was quite prominent, but not, they, yeah, in my mind, they don't have celebrity status, but that could be, my interpretation.
Had you ever been to Longleat?
I have not.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it's beautiful, but they made it out like it was this, like, really, like, Disneyland of the Isle, so
Well, I think it is one of the more prominent, stately homes.
Yeah, I think
well,
she said that her husband's like grandfather or
Mhm.
great grandfather or something was like one of the first, I guess, like people who had these stately homes who decided to like because they're money pits, obviously. I mean,
Right.
1,000 rooms or something
Yeah.
crazy. So, and that money,
Mhm.
got that money to maintain it from somewhere, and he was one of the first who kind of started to commercialize it,
Okay.
and which I've seen other people talk about like
Mhm.
homes that are open for tours and that kind
Right.
of thing.
Yeah.
Really, at Longleat took it and ran with it. I mean, they have this wild animal preserve that's
Okay.
almost a safari. Like they
Yeah.
have these Rothschild giraffes and
Okay. Wow.
what was the animal, Sunday, that like they were like one of the hippos or something.
Oh, yeah, the IVF.
They're doing
They were doing to save it.
Okay. I do think it is definitely up there with one of the top, places,
Yeah.
tourist
Which
places. But
it felt really surprising to me that she would be on a reality show
yeah,
this way, but, I don't know, you can never account. There's some folks who are just
right.
we just want to be in front of the camera. What do you think Americans get wrong about, like, perceptions that you've had to, like, really fend off?
Oh, in terms of uh, aristocracy.
Or anything like,
Oh,
oh, they think, there's lots of, like,
oh,
kind of ugly stereotypes around any culture, and if you're not enmeshed in it or have any experience, you kinda just, like, buy into them, right?
yeah,
So, what are some things you've had to just really dispel?
okay. So I yesterday I was obviously watching the news, and Prince Charles gave his speech, not the one in Congress, the one that was outside the White House, I guess. And of course, Trump made a mention the weather, it was cloudy and dull, and he had to, attribute that to the British weather, but it's not like that. I mean, yes, we do have that rainy time, but it's not constant. I mean, we have beautiful weather, gorgeous days that I really miss.
Yeah.
So the weather, it does not always rain. And then food. I think honestly, the food in England and Britain itself is very varied. We have.
Yeah. It gets a real bad rap, though.
It does, and I mean, yeah, but I'm sure. I mean, our staples were, pies and potatoes and whatever back in the day. But now, I mean, I think Indian food is the most popular British food, and then
Yes.
all the pubs, have amazing menus, and also the food is really good. And I mean, even when I go up there, I notice the strawberries and the eggs. I mean, I'm like, oh, I come over here and there's I'm on some Brits in the USA group, Facebook, and everyone talks about the bread. everyone's like, "What bread? Oh my god, we can't buy bread." So
Well,
it seems to be a point of contention too.
so that is one of the things. So I studied abroad. I lived in Oxford many, many years ago, and that was one of the things that I noticed the most is when you would shop, you would go to like the grocery store, the market, or whatever. Like what you bought was so much smaller because it went bad so fast, right? Like you would buy what I consider like a half a loaf of bread
Right.
that would go bad if you didn't eat it because of the preservatives that we use. Whereas a loaf of bread here or like milk will last forever. And I was like, this is so strange because I was having to go to the market a lot. And that was one of the things that I noticed. I also noticed that Americans eat a lot faster than other places. We are a real like race to the finish line kind of folk.
I know, and that was an adjustment when I came over. Because we will eat and then we'll linger, we'll talk, and here it was like, and we're out. I mean, people would just clear tables, then we're gone. And it took me a while on that one to think, oh my gosh, okay. So yeah, people do not sit and linger and have conversations, I guess.
Yeah. And I had a hard time with the tipping culture too, or like the lack thereof. I had really struggled to not tip because it's received differently, right? It's not perceived as a gesture. It's kind of received as like, what, you think I'm poor? Like that was the reaction that I got.
Yeah. Yeah. That might be changing now though with this next generation.
Yes.
I think.
Well,
bring it.
Yeah. I mean, it's expensive to be alive everywhere these days.
Right. I know.
In your groups, like your like Brits and American, what are some of like the biggest complaints? And also too, what is the feeling around complaining culture? Like American, it's almost like a hobby that we complain about, like, oh, my back hurts. Like, oh, everything's so expensive. Like, oh, it's so hot.
Yeah.
What are the biggest complaints? And then how does complaining culture?
Well, I do think Brits can be a complaining culture too. I think that's definitely a part of it.
Yeah.
But then that's definitely ingrained. Whereas the Brits will plod on. Whereas Americans, it's I don't know. Like I don't know. I can't quite pin down Americans when they complain. Maybe I'm on too many uplifting people. I like to think, but
not a bunch of crab asses out here just complaining about everything.
Yeah. And then, being here 28 years, I'm a little bit indoctrinated myself. So, but I'm stumbling a bit on that one. Trying to think for complaints. I mean, of course. Oh well, there's one great guy that I do follow on Facebook. He cracks me up. I can't think of him right now, but he does Britishisms, and he makes me. Oh my gosh, he nails it. He nails it every time and makes me laugh because we do have such funny mannerisms. He was saying that if you were eating a meal and your mother or your aunt would say, "How is it?" You say, "Oh, it's great, thank you." He said, but if you're in a restaurant and the Brits don't like to be put attention on them, I guess. And the waiter says, "How was your meal?" And you're like, and if it's not good, you're like, "It's okay, it's okay." So I did notice that with my family came over too. Like once I said to my mum, how was your meal? She was like, "Well, I said, let's say something then." I've learned that the Brits will not be assertive that way. For the most part, it's just it's a culture. It's a culture.
So it's like a politeness thing.
Yes, it definitely is. Yeah.
So politeness is highly of like a high valued commodity, right?
Yeah.
Like above all else.
Yeah. But
like more important than comfort or
Yeah. But it can also hinder you as well.
Right. I think that's some overlap too in the American South too, especially as American women.
Yeah.
Right. Because we are very much trained to like sublimate our own our own needs or our own uncomfortability, like you were saying, pick up a hitchhiker and then get murdered, right? Like that is that feels like a very specifically like a female experience. I also too like because when you get like media or any kind of text, you're sort of getting a very, very boiled down idea. And so like we have this idea that, okay, like England has two divides in terms of like socioeconomic levels. You have the super rich folks like we're watching on Ladies of London, and then you have just like poor folks who are, please, may I have some more?
Yeah.
Right. And so is there I mean, obviously it's a more nuanced of that, but how nuanced is it differently from how we perceive it? Because we have a specifically like a lower, like a working class, we have a middle class, we have like whatever. And does it shake out that way similarly?
I think so, and more so now. Just thinking to some of my friends, I think the Great Divide used to be, the North and the South. And so I'm from up north, and the joke down south used to always be it's grim up north. It's not.
Does that mean poor?
Yes, a grim is a terrible place to be. So I mean, for me, Londoners are super snobby, and I mean, it's they say that England's the opposite. So like Southerners are your Northerners here, you know. So it's just
Interesting.
yeah,
So
and you
we're the grim folks.
South of England is like the high class, like snobbier or whatever.
yes, Northerners are your
Yeah.
your Southerners here, welcoming and just so. But
Yeah. We're the grim lot
yeah,
here, down here. Well, and too, like, just so much they talk so much about like society and how like the rules to perform and the rules to like be perceived as like polite or whatever. And it just does seem a very, very codified structure. Like
yeah,
there's this one scene where they're having an afternoon tea and the American, because it's always an American, goes and just like pulls a tray of sandwiches to sit down to start eating, like before she was invited, and like the whole place is like, I just cannot believe it. I just can't believe she would do such a thing. That is, and so it's like,
Fair. I nearly had a stroke over
yes, Emily did gasp out loud.
I was appalled that anyone would do that. But I'm a big hostess, so I'm
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
but I mean, do you have this like rules that we have to follow? I mean, I think generationally too. Like, if you were to ask my 17-year-old son if that was weird, he'd be like, I don't understand the problem here.
right,
But if you would ask my mother about it, right?
yeah.
But is it much more like set out for you guys? Do you have to like, did you grow up learning these inherent rules or?
Yeah. So yeah, I do. I mean, I do definitely call. We will go to my nana's house every Sunday. I guess that was my mom's day off, and we would spend all day there, which included doing afternoon tea. And then so my mom and nana would spend all afternoon. My nana would over there have a Victoria sandwich cake and make sandwiches, and then she'd roll it in on the little tea trolley. It was lovely. But yeah, there was definitely rules then. Like you couldn't dive in, and you have to get your plate, and you know, adults go first, and yeah. So there was, but I think that's really washing out now. I'll be honest with you. It's just,
Yeah.
see that maybe down south it's different. England south for the show, I don't know, but I think a lot of that's washing out so much.
Well, so much of like Bravo programming is this aspirational idea that like here's these like really super rich people behaving really badly, and so like if that's the only content that I consume, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I am getting a little bit of Geordie Shore, don't get me wrong, but that's kind of the perception that sticks,
Mhm.
right? And so it just feels a little one-sided for us to kind of think that this is the only kinds of folks there. What is like the area that you're from? You said north, right?
Yeah, Northwest England.
Like,
Yeah.
right. So what is your area known for? Like, what is, like the South, we've got peanuts and peaches, and, Florida's got sunshine and racism. Like, sorry, Florida people, we love you. But like, how would you describe like your neck of the woods?
I would say that there's really good people. I mean, we're right in the middle of Manchester, Liverpool, so it's huge Premier Soccer,
Oh,
going on. We got such big teams: Liverpool, Everton, Manchester United, Man City. So, of course, Liverpool Scousers, and Manchester Mancunians. We're in the middle of all that. It's my hometown is an industrial town, so we produce wire. We're a rugby town, so it's rugby. So we're just
oh,
hardcore working class, good folks. But there again, you also have Cheshire is, I think, the second. Don't quote me on this, but the second richest county in the UK, because you do have your Premier League soccer players all in there, for that obviously, and they're just
there's
paying
so many animals.
googles of money. So, and then
sorry.
and then yeah. So on that side of Manchester things, you've got your Altrincham, and all that, which is where all the soccer players live. So It's
Is
heightened also that way.
is soccer culture more akin to, like, college football in terms of how rowdy it gets or how devoted people are, or is it more like NFL? Is it like, what's the analog there?
It's a good mix. When I get I do go to a football game here. It's I definitely recognize that camaraderie of your team. It's very much like that for Premier League soccer. Of course, there's a lot more singing for an English Premier League.
Singing?
Yeah, oh yeah, they sing all. If you watch a soccer game, they will sing all the way through the game. They got their chants, their standard chants.
Okay.
Every team's got an anthem.
Watch Ted Lasso.
Yeah, I don't know if I clocked the singing, though. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
something
but
that
singing is
stayed
a
with me.
huge part. And of course, then we go to Atlanta United games here, and they have that heavy South American. So they got the drums going on. We really don't have drums, but we do have plenty of singing. And the songs that they sing. I mean, it's humor there. It's just, I mean, when you pick up sometimes what they're singing, you're like, oh my gosh, really. But yeah,
What do you miss the most about being at home?
um,
Being away from home, I guess.
obviously people,
Mhm.
my people. I miss a few things that might sound strange. Smells. Smells are very, I think, guttural. Like, and then I do miss that. I don't know. I remember. It's hard to put what is this into words, but I remember going home last time, and it's just the way people talk to each other. It's a strange kind of familiarity. I'm very vested here, of course, but there was just something about it. I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it, but just the way people greet each other. And I think, I love the fact that the history, and so I always say when when I'm going home, when I go to Atlanta Airport, I'm going towards the terminal, where my gate, and then as I get there and start to recognize there's something about a bone structure. I think you can just kind of pick people out. I see it. And then a few people here, like a couple of friends, if I know them well enough, I've got one friend in particular, and I said, I just keep looking at you, and I feel like, I said, do you have any ancestors from England? He's like, well, yeah, my family used to be blacksmiths in Yorkshire. I can see it. I can just see it. Like, it's just, it's still there in your physique. So, because
I
we're a melting pot.
one of
So,
Yes. Well, it's an accent for me. Like, if I could be somewhere, anywhere, and if I just hear
yeah,
just like the little, that's what it's like. Oh, okay. It's like I can see
right.
you. Like those
Yeah,
are my
yeah.
folks.
Oh, yeah.
When I
So,
was there,
sorry.
I studied like it was like a travel writing course which we studied at Oxford,
Mm.
and one of the professors talked about like the weight of history,
Uh-huh.
the way that everything is so old. Like, you could go into a gap and the building has been
Oh, yeah.
it's 300 years
Yeah.
old, right? Like, and it's just everything is just older than you can possibly imagine, and that there's like a feel to it, because we took a tour, we went to different places, and
Mhm.
like Wales was one of my very favorite places.
Yeah.
But you could just kind of like, oh, I'm gonna just go to a Subway down here and just like eat a sandwich in a building that was here, Queen Victoria. It was
Uh,
very surreal
yeah.
experience
Yeah.
to just because we don't really have that
I know.
at all, really.
No, the depth of history is immense. I remember we were out with my dad Sundays, and we'd be driving down a road, and he was a big history buff. He was like, "This is a Roman road," and even though it's been paved over, it was like straight, like, you know, it was the Romans built it. That's crazy to think about that. So, but yeah, just think about all the history is immense. So, um,
How often do you get to go back?
I'm averaging about every 18 months.
Okay.
Last time I was over was October 24. Yeah.
Oh, we were about due then, aren't you?
Yeah. One of my friends from high school got married. So that was just a out of body experience. I felt like, I just, all of a sudden I'm there. My friend's getting married the second time, but all my high school friends show up. I've not seen them for years. Everyone, it was just like, it was the best time ever. God. I just
Um,
loved it up.
What questions do they have for you?
yeah.
When you go back over there and they're like, "You live in Georgia, in the
Yes.
United States?" Like,
Well, it's perception
what do
all
they think?
again. Yeah, they think I'm just here, like sunbathing every day. But the climate's so nice. I'm like, you really don't want to some. And then they're fascinated that we have a drive-in laundromat, drive-in bank, drive-in. And I said, well, it's because it's so humid, just getting out of your car every day is just, I don't know if it's a lazy thing, but it's just, I think
It's
to me, it's
torture.
more climate driven. So like, I do not want to get in and out every day, all the time, just running errands. So I think everyone's drive for it, but they find drive-throughs fascinating.
I can't imagine having to experience this sort of humidity and this sort of heat, having never experienced it before,
I know.
because it is a brutality.
Yeah, and I
That
was
is.
wise to that, and my wedding date was August 29th, like,
Oh,
and they
ma'am.
slowly melted.
Yeah.
Heat rashes galore, it was great.
Do people ask you to bring anything from here to them, or from there to here?
Yeah, it used to be to take Oreos over, but now they have Oreos over there. So I know
Huh.
Oreos. Oh yeah, when I coming this way, I used to ask for cake mixes and I know, but now, of course, what was it? Maybe 10 years ago now, all of a sudden, Public started carrying international foods, and so the word got out. I mean, I couldn't believe when I walked in Publix, I could not believe it. So they had some, home staples, and it just makes a huge difference. And then now I've just got a friend who's going to open up a local cafe, and so I'm just waiting for her to get the thumbs up, and then she'll be serving some, tea and crumpets and tea and toast and beans on toast and all that good stuff. So
Yeah. Well, you'll have to let us know when she opens. We'll have to come to do a little
yeah, definitely,
remote but goat.
yeah.
Yeah. Because that would be very fun to have
Mhm.
a
It
tea
will.
or
Yeah.
crumpets or tea and toast, I
Mm.
guess.
Mhm.
Mm.
And then you can get crumpets actually in Publix as well. So,
Yeah. I'm
yeah.
not too sure I can conjure up what a crumpet is in my
Crumpet is
brain. Like a cookie?
like a hot cake,
Oh.
I guess, in a way. It's not a cookie. It's like a doughy, and then the way it cooks, the top just looks all bubbly. So yeah,
Huh.
yeah,
Like a cinnamon roll.
uh, kind of, yeah, kind of
Yeah.
more like maybe a battery biscuit.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know it sounds describe.
So your homework
Mm,
is, I always like to give a little bit of homework. Your homework is to watch at least one
right.
and then just come back to talk
Mm,
to us about the most egregious things that these women are doing, saying,
mhm,
wearing,
right.
because the way that they purport themselves, it is just like they're from a different planet, some of them feel like.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why
Yeah.
it was
So
so
what the
interesting to
average.
talk with you. Well, it was so interesting because you have a foot in both worlds a little bit since
Mhm,
you're so acclimated
yeah,
here. I mean, 28 years, you might as well. This is, where you live now.
yeah.
But you'll have to come back and sort of
Mhm,
tell us, these folks are bonkers.
right. Yeah, yeah. Okay. I'll definitely
Yep.
watch a few episodes. That'd be good.
Would you like to tell anybody how to get to the Columbus in the Valley magazine? Is there a website? Is there
Yeah.
an Instagram handle? Tell us where they can find your stuff and how to read and look and
Okay.
view and all that.
Yeah, we website is columbusinthevalley.com. You'll find us on Facebook, and you'll find us on Instagram. You'll find us in Barnes and Noble, Tickwood Pharmacy, all those great places locally.
Yeah.
6 issues a year, and we've been printing. But I'm the third owner, and the magazine's been around for 35 years, so we are well established.
Familiar with it, but
Mhm.
our podcast actually has worldwide listeners.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
make sure that
So that's what
great.
I was going to say. So some folks who are in England right now listening to us, if they want to go to Columbus in the Valley to see how Emily and I, what our town looks like and what sorts of
Yeah,
fun and interesting stuff we get into.
it's all there.
But it is a wonderful magazine.
Thank
I've been
you.
Mhm.
following
Thank
it,
you.
reading it for years.
Thank you.
Yeah, it
I'm
is. Yeah,
excited.
it's just a
I'm
Yeah.
glad that it's still going on because it
Yeah.
has been,
Mhm.
I think, our oldest local magazine.
He says, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's still print, digital. It's available online for free. You can read every issue.
well, that's right. We have a lot of listeners in Vietnam.
Okay.
Yes, and so if you want to have a little peek into our corner of the world, you can absolutely go
Mhm.
there and go follow them. And of course, you can always follow us at Take a
Mhm.
Pinot Pod. Emily now has a email address, Emily at
I guess-
Pinot Pod.
Send me any emails though. All
So,
go to Sunday.
well, no, they go to Jeff. Remember, I only take sweet compliments. All the mean stuff goes to Emily and Jeff, y'all. I don't want any of it. But you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram. And Emily and I, our last week, we got cut off. Emily was in the mountains And like the last, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes or so just got cut off. So this is a nice little supplement to make up for the folks who are like, where's the rest of this? But she was very posh in her own self, just in the mountains. So posh, in fact, there was no Wi-Fi.
It's a very getaway kind of a place.
Yeah.
Much needed. So.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Jodi, for hanging out with us. And I really want folks to go and follow the Instagram so they can see it's a nice little crossover for us too. So
absolutely.
yeah, see you next time, guys.
Fun.